Wild thoughts are the blueprint of legendary lives. Stop filtering your fire to fit their fears. You gotta understand something. The thoughts that scare you, the visions that make you feel crazy, the ideas that make your heart race, those are not accidents. Those are not distractions. Those are callings. That wild thought you had about starting something that's never been done before, that wild vision of building a legacy that outlives you, that dream that doesn't make sense on paper, but makes perfect sense in your soul. That's not insanity, that's destiny knocking, and too many of us keep putting our destiny on mute because we're afraid of what other people are gonna say. We dim our light because it's too bright for their insecurities. We lower our standards to match their comfort zones. We filter our fire just to make them feel safe in their fear. And that's gotta stop. Because legends aren't made from average thoughts. Legends are made when someone looks at the world and says, "This isn't enough. I was built for more. I see what others can't see, and I'm willing to move on it." Every great invention, every world-changing idea, every movement that shook the planet, it started as a wild thought. Something someone was too afraid to share out loud. But the ones who change the game, they stop hiding. They stop shrinking. They stop apologizing for their boldness and start living in it. They take those wild thoughts and they make a plan. They take those crazy visions and turn them into blueprints. They stop asking for permission to dream big and start commanding their space. You gotta stop expecting everybody to understand your calling when it wasn't a conference call. Not everybody is supposed to see what you see. Not everybody has the vision. Not everybody is gonna get excited about your wild thoughts because they gave up on theirs. They stopped believing, so now they want you to stop too. But you can't let their fears shape your future. You can't let their limitations become your prison. Your job is not to make them comfortable. Your job is to make that fire inside you burn brighter every single day. That fire is your compass. That fire is your guide. That fire is the sign that you're alive and that you're still connected to something greater than yourself. When you filter your wild thoughts, you don't just rob yourself. You rob the world. Somebody needs that book. Somebody needs that business. Somebody needs that art, that message, that invention, that solution. Somebody out there is drowning, and your wild thought is the lifeline they've been waiting for. But it'll never reach them if you keep hiding it, doubting it, and playing small. There is a reason you were given that vision and not someone else. There is a reason that wild thought found its way into your spirit. Because you have what it takes to bring it to life. You have the resilience, you have the creativity, you have the passion. You don't need approval, you need action, you don't need permission, you need courage. Courage to be misunderstood, courage to be mocked, courage to stand alone for a season while you build what no one else sees. You are not here to blend in, you are here to build, you are here to break chains. You are here to create something so powerful that generations after you will feel your impact. But it starts with one choice, to stop filtering your fire. Let it burn, let it roar. Let it push you into places you've never been before. Let your wild thoughts take the wheel, and trust that they're leading you toward a version of yourself you haven't even met yet. That version is bolder. That version is stronger. That version doesn't ask, "What if I fail?" but says, "What if I fly?" That version is not bound by fear but fueled by faith. Every wild idea you bury becomes a seed you rob the world from ever seeing grow. You gotta understand this truth. Ideas are not just thoughts, they are living things. They are spiritual downloads, divine assignments, creative sparks that were never meant to be kept in the shadows. Every time you have a wild idea, an idea that scares you, excites you, challenges you, it's like a seed being handed to you by something greater. And just like a seed, it's full of potential, but it can't grow in hiding, it can't grow in fear, it can't grow buried under your doubt, your hesitation, or your need for approval. The moment you bury that idea and walk away from it because you think you're not good enough, not ready, not smart enough, you're not just walking away from a thought, you're walking away from impact. Some of y'all have had ideas that could change lives, but you're sitting on them because you're worried about what your cousin's gonna say. You're worried your friends won't understand it. You're afraid you don't have the money, the connections, the credentials. But let me ask you something. When has playing it safe ever produced something extraordinary? When has staying quiet ever sparked a revolution? It hasn't. The people who shake the world are the ones who plant wild seeds in impossible soil. The ones who say, this may look crazy now, but one day it's gonna grow into something massive, and they show up every day to water it, to protect it, to believe in it, even when nobody else does. See, your wild idea was given to you for a reason. Not your neighbor, not your teacher, not your parents, you. Because you've got the combination of life experience, struggle, passion, and grit that's needed to bring it to life. And that idea doesn't need perfection. It needs momentum. It needs you to stop doubting and start digging, start building, start creating, and understand, when you bury your ideas out of fear, you're not just robbing yourself of success. You're robbing the world of the value that only you can bring. You're robbing that young kid who needed your story. You're robbing that client who needed your solution. You're robbing future generations of the legacy you were supposed to plant today. And I get it. Wild ideas don't feel safe. That's the point. Growth ain't supposed to feel comfortable. Wild ideas stretch you. They force you to grow into a version of yourself you didn't even know existed. That's why they feel scary, because they demand more. More focus, more faith, more sacrifice. But guess what? You've got more in you than you've been giving. You've got another gear. You've got another level. And that idea you keep pushing to the side, that might just be the thing that unlocks the life you've been praying for. That might be the bridge between where you are and where you're destined to be. So stop waiting for perfect timing. Stop waiting for applause. Stop waiting for the fear to go away. Because every day you delay, that seed gets weaker. That vision gets dimmer. That fire inside starts to fade. Don't let the pressure bury your potential. Let it birth your purpose. Let it push you. Let it drive you to take that wild idea, that beautiful, bold, terrifying idea, and plant it. Water it, fight for it, build it, because one day that little seed could become a tree so big, so impactful, so powerful, that people will sit in the shade of what you had the courage to start. The difference between crazy and genius is execution. Dare to act on what others doubt. You see, people will call you crazy right up until the moment you prove them wrong. They'll laugh at your vision when it's still on paper. They'll shake their heads when you talk about your dream like it's already done. And they'll walk away when you start building something they can't see. That's what happens when you're ahead of your time. That's what happens when you think big, dream wild, and move different. But understand this, ideas alone don't make legends. Talk doesn't build empires. Wishing doesn't change the world. What separates the dreamers from the doers is one thing: execution. Everybody has an idea. Everybody has a dream. But only a few have the courage to step out of the comfort zone and act on it. Only a few wake up every day and say, I know they don't get it, but I'm still going. Only a few are bold enough to bet everything on what they believe in, even when it feels like nobody believes in them. That's the difference. That's the line in the sand between the ones who leave a mark and the ones who disappear in the crowd. It's not intelligence. It's not talent. It's not luck. It's the commitment to do something with what's inside of you. You gotta stop waiting for the perfect moment, because it's never coming. The stars won't align. The fear won't vanish. The doubt won't magically disappear. You just have to make a decision that your vision matters more than your fear. You have to understand that greatness will never feel convenient. You will always be building while you're bleeding. You'll be constructing your purpose while battling your own insecurities. But if you can show up anyway, if you can execute when it's not easy, when it's not popular, when it's not guaranteed, that's when you shift from crazy to genius. That's when they stop laughing and start asking how you did it. Think about every game changer you admire, every inventor, every entrepreneur, every creator. They didn't start with applause. They started with confusion. They started with criticism. They started with people questioning their sanity. But they kept moving, they kept building, they stayed locked in, because deep down they knew something most people never figure out. Your vision is not for their validation. Your calling is not up for public opinion. And if you keep waiting for everybody to clap before you start, you'll be stuck on pause for the rest of your life. So whatever wild thought you're sitting on, act on it, not tomorrow, not someday, now. Build the thing, write the book, launch the project, speak the message, share the story, take the risk, because once you start executing, once you start turning that invisible idea into a visible result, everything changes. The energy shifts, the doubters go silent, the same people who questioned you will be the ones quoting you, not because you convinced them with words, but because you showed them with work, because you dared to be consistent. You dared to start small. You dared to stay in the lab, stay in the dark, stay behind the scenes grinding until the breakthrough came. That's the kind of energy that builds legacies. That's the kind of execution that separates ordinary from extraordinary. You don't need the world to understand you. You just need to outwork their doubt. You just need to believe in your vision enough to bring it to life, no matter how crazy it sounds right now. Because one day they'll call it genius. But only if you've got the guts to act while they're still calling it crazy. You weren't born to survive Monday. You were born to dominate it with untamed purpose. From the moment you woke up today, the world already started trying to put limits on you. The alarm went off and reality hit. Your job, your responsibilities, your stress, your doubts. And for most people, that's enough to make them shrink. That's enough to make them say, let me just get through the day. But not you. You're not built like most people. You weren't designed to crawl through life dreading the start of the week. You were made to attack Monday with power, precision, and purpose. You were made to look Monday in the face and say, I own you. See, surviving is for those who have given up on their dreams. Surviving is for the people who are okay with average, who have let fear negotiate their passion down to paycheck living. But you've got something burning in your chest. You've got a calling that's louder than your alarm clock. You've got a mission so big that Monday should feel like game day, not punishment. It's the day when everybody else is groggy and you're already grinding. It's the day when the weak reset and the strong reload. It's not the start of the week. It's the next round of the fight for your future. And if you don't walk into Monday with purpose, Monday will walk all over you. That's why so many people stay stuck, because they've allowed the energy of the day to dictate their actions. But when you've got purpose, when you know what you were born for, when your why is bigger than your circumstances, you don't wait for energy, you bring it. You don't wait for motivation, you generate it. You don't pray for the week to go faster. You stretch every minute to take you closer to your destiny, and you stop seeing Monday as a burden. You start seeing it as a weapon. Another tool, another opportunity to build the life you were meant to live. You got to tap into that untamed purpose, that primal hunger inside you that says, there's more to me than they see. There's more to life than just bills and breaks and weekends. You were born with gifts. You were born with fire. You were born with something inside of you that doesn't settle, that doesn't slow down, that doesn't sit still while your soul is screaming for progress. That's what Monday is for. Not coasting, not complaining, conquering. You've got to look at the week with a mindset of domination, not desperation. You've got to carry yourself like someone who's been chosen for more. Not because you're perfect, but because you're committed. Not because you have everything figured out, but because you refuse to back down. This world doesn't need more people trying to survive. It needs people who are bold enough to lead, people who are relentless enough to start. People who wake up on a Monday and don't complain, don't wait, don't stall. They execute, they move, they hustle with intention. They step into rooms like they belong because their purpose walks in before them. That's who you are. You're not here to fit in. You're not here to take orders from fear. You're here to break cycles. You're here to build legacy. You're here to remind people what it looks like when passion meets discipline and purpose fuels every move. You were born to dominate, not just Mondays, but every single day that stands between you and your calling. Your wild thoughts are not a threat. They're a preview of your potential screaming to be unleashed. Too many of us have been taught to suppress what makes us different. We've been conditioned to tone it down, to shrink our imagination, to color inside the lines and never question the outline. But what if the very thoughts you've been hiding, the ideas you keep second guessing, the visions that make you feel crazy, what if those are the very things trying to wake you up to who you really are? Not the version the world is comfortable with, but the version that can break barriers, disrupt systems, and live fully alive. That's what wild thoughts are. They're not accidents. They're not distractions. They're signals from the deepest part of your being, calling you to go further, to dig deeper, to rise higher. But here's the problem. We've been told that wild means dangerous. That if your dream is too big, it's unrealistic. That if your vision doesn't fit the mold, it's unworthy. And so we start believing that we're too much, that our ideas are too extreme, that we should just settle for what's proven, what's safe, what's been done before. But legends are never made in the safety zone. Purpose is never unlocked through playing small, and greatness never comes from ignoring the voice inside you that says, "There's more." That voice is your power. That wildness is your gift. And when you finally stop fighting it, when you embrace it, when you let it lead you, that's when life begins to shift. You've got to realize your wild thoughts are previews of your highest self. That idea you keep having about building something extraordinary, that feeling in your chest that says you were meant to speak, to lead, to create, to inspire, that's not ego. That's alignment. That's your potential trying to stretch you into the version of you that doesn't live in fear. That doesn't play the comparison game. That doesn't need a green light from people who can't see what you see. You don't need anyone to validate your wild thoughts. You need to honor them, protect them, feed them, because buried inside those thoughts are solutions to problems the world hasn't solved yet, messages the world hasn't heard yet, movements the world hasn't witnessed yet. The danger is not in thinking too big. The danger is in spending your whole life thinking small. The danger is waking up every day ignoring the very thoughts that could unlock your next level. Wild thoughts come to remind you that you're more than what you've settled for. They show up when routine starts to numb your spirit. They show up when the comfort zone becomes a cage, and every time you suppress them, you deny yourself the growth, the freedom, the power that comes with living boldly. But when you lean in, when you trust those wild thoughts enough to take action, that's when the game changes. That's when your ordinary starts turning into extraordinary. That's when you begin to live not just for survival, but for significance. You don't need to be afraid of your wildness. You need to unleash it. You don't need to quiet your imagination. You need to amplify it. That crazy idea you've been too scared to speak out loud, say it. That vision you keep tucking away because you think it's too much, build it. The world is full of people playing small because they were taught to fear their own potential. Don't be one of them. Be the one who leaned into the fire. Be the one who let their wild thoughts lead the way, because those thoughts are more than just sparks. They're the beginning of your revolution. They're not threats. They're blueprints. They're not delusions. They're directions, and they're not too much. They're exactly what the world's been waiting for. If your dream doesn't scare you or sound ridiculous, it's not wild enough to change your life. The dream that's safe, the dream that fits inside a box, the dream that everyone nods their head and agrees with, that's not the one that's going to take you to greatness. That's not the one that will pull the best out of you. You've got to understand growth doesn't live in comfort. Power isn't born in convenience. Transformation comes from stepping into something that stretches you so far, that demands so much from you, that you don't even recognize who you were before it started. That kind of dream should make your hands shake. It should make you second, guess whether you're even capable. And that's exactly how you know you're on the right path. Most people settle for realistic because realistic doesn't require risk. It doesn't expose you, it doesn't make you face your fears, but the people who change their lives, the people who build legacies, the people who walk into rooms and shift the atmosphere, they're the ones who chose to chase something wild. They looked at the limits and said, "That's not where I stop. That's where I start." They dared to dream in a way that made other people uncomfortable. They dared to pursue goals that sounded impossible. And every step they took, they did it with fear sitting right beside them. But they moved anyway. You can't wait to feel ready. You can't wait until it all makes sense. If your dream feels too big, too far, too crazy, that's the sign. That's the kind of dream that activates your faith. That forces you to become more disciplined, more focused, more resilient. That dream becomes the fuel that gets you up at 4 a.m., that pushes you through setbacks, that silences the noise of doubt. And the truth is, the bigger the dream, the bigger the battle. But the reward is not just what you accomplish. It's who you become in the process. You become someone that fear can't hold, someone that excuses can't stop, someone that limitations can't contain. There's a version of you waiting on the other side of your wildest dream. A version of you who's stronger, who's free, who's fulfilled, who's living with purpose and power. But you'll never meet that version if you keep settling for safe. You'll never access that level of your life if you keep shrinking your dreams to match your current situation. Your dream should scare you because it should be bigger than you. It should require more than what you have right now. That way you're forced to grow into the person who can handle it. That way you know it's not just about what you want. It's about who you're becoming along the way, and people are going to doubt you. They're going to question your dream. They're going to tell you to be realistic. But what they're really doing is projecting their own fears onto your future. You don't owe anyone an explanation for your wild dream. You owe yourself the fight to see it through. You owe yourself the opportunity to find out what happens when you don't back down, when you keep showing up, when you keep building, even when it doesn't make sense yet. Especially when it doesn't make sense yet. You're not here to live small. You're not here to blend in. You're here to be a living example of what's possible when someone stops running from their vision and starts chasing it with everything they've got. That dream inside you, yes, the one that scares you, the one that seems too wild to say out loud. That dream is real, that dream matters, and it didn't come to tease you, it came to transform you. All you have to do is say yes. Say yes to the fear, say yes to the risk, say yes to the process, because that wild dream isn't too big, it's the perfect size for the person you're about to become.